project, we are taking graphic elements such as all these flat shapes that are out here, and we're combining it with a photograph, and we're trying to hide the fact that the photograph has an edge to it that is much smaller than the entirety of whatever type of advertisement we are making. Okay, and there's a number of ways to do this in either Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. So this is a Photoshop version of it, which we're using brushes and copying shapes to all different layers to make this happen. Or you could do it in Adobe Illustrator, and for certain things Illustrator would be easier, and for others Photoshop would be your ticket. So the choice is yours. To get the project started, either way, either in Photoshop or Illustrator, so let's hop back over to Photoshop here, and I brought in a picture of a cello. So let's say I want to make a poster for some kind of musical instrument like restoration company or something like that. And you guys are making up your own company, and it can evolve actually from the image. So you don't have to have a set company. When you begin with, maybe you'll think of something. What you need is space around your object. Now this has space to it, but I like to have more, and you would give yourself more room than you think you need on this project to get the picture to kind of blend into whatever's going on in the background. In Photoshop, you would be using the crop tool, and in Illustrator, you'd be using the artboard tool, and they both work very similarly. One thing that I would do first in Photoshop is I would, for the background color, I would pick a color that is part of the picture already. So I'm going to pick the color right off of the picture, this kind of brownish color here, and click OK, and that's now become my background color. This way, when I use the cropping tool, and let me zoom out a little bit, so I hit Command minus to zoom out, I'm going to scale this up, and you can see now the background is actually filling in with the color that I want. So it was a little out of control there, but there we go. Hit return on your keyboard or the check mark at the top of your screen to apply it, and now I have some room around the outside of my object. And one of the ways to disguise the picture into the background, besides matching up the color, is by using shapes. So in Illustrator, I had previously created a few shapes that I could use for my projects. So I had these created for the bus project I showed you before, but I'm going to show you how to take, like, let's say I want to use this flower as a brush. If I take this, I can hit Command C or Control C to copy, and then I'll go over to Photoshop and hit Command V to paste, and it's going to paste it as pixels is fine. It'll paste onto its own layer. I'll hit the check mark to apply this, and now I want to make this into its own brush. So I will select the object by holding the Command or Control key and clicking right on the thumbnail. That'll select whatever's on that layer, and I'm going to go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, ... and that is fine. I click OK. And now I have a brush. Okay, so it automatically sent me over to the brush tool. I'm probably going to make a new layer for this, hide the old layer, and deselect so it works outside of that area. Now my cursor is set to be a little bit larger in my system preferences, so the actual object's not going to match up to the picture. But black is my selected color right now, so if I click, and it's going to paint black. Okay, I don't really want that, so let me go back to here, and I'm going to pick a color that is actually part of my picture to do this. So I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. Hit I on your keyboard, and if I pick the background color and I go back to B for brush, and when I click, now the background is kind of going into the picture a little bit. So you can work from the background into the picture, or you can work from the picture out into the background. And you can see now I'm already breaking up the space. The bracket key on the keyboard will automatically make your brush larger or smaller, and the arrow keys can tilt the brush. So if I hold arrow, it's tilting the brush. So let's now pick a different color off of here. So I'm going to pick this brighter color, and I'm going to go back to my brush tool, and I'm going to click and you know, you can click all around and maybe change the size a little bit to have some variety. That would be important. And maybe change the angle a little bit too, so that you have, again, more variety to it will make it better. And as this bleeds off into space, and you can see it's going to take a little bit of time, but you will start to get definitely breaking up that edge, and the edge of this object will become less evident. So I for eyedropper, pick a color off of your project, and then go hit V for brush, change your brush size by brackets or arrows for the angle, and then you can paint, okay? And this is going to work beautifully to disguise the edge, okay? And you can even work far away. That's why I said before, more is better as far as space off the side. And that's already starting to disappear quite a bit into the background. So that would work. I mean, I would probably use a different shape for this, since it's a musical restoration company. Maybe some you know, musical notes or something like that could work, okay? This down here is going to be a little bit of trouble, but I could also, you know, just extend the shape out here. You are going to be adding text into these, so that would be a possibility, okay? And that's how you do it. You could also copy and paste the shapes onto their own layers. Like I brought in like these kind of smoky looking things, and I made those each on their own layer, and I selected them and filled them with color from the actual VW bus too. So use the colors that are on the page in your project. Don't start adding more colors in there, and that should do it. And when you're in Illustrator, it's going to be working much the same way. So let me go back to that flower example. So this is a Rooftop Gardens logo, and it's going to work the same way. You can use pen tool. I can either come across from the background. If I have the background color selected, I could bring the background across into the foreground with whatever shape. I'll just cut that off so I don't bore you to death. And let's say I bring this green out into this space, so I'll make a small shape here. Variety again is definitely going to help you out. You want some things to go out pretty far. You don't want every shape to end at the same spot, because then all it's going to do is make your frame a little bit larger. So I got my eyedrop tool, I select that, the color matches up to the background. You may have to bring this into Photoshop later to kind of maybe use a healing brush or something to fix these little things up. But you can see that, you know, the more you do along the edge, the more the edge of the photograph disappears, okay? It still is popping up in some spots, so I'd have to address those. This side obviously is not taken care of yet, but we're getting there, okay? And that's how the project's going to go. So you're going to have flat graphics, no gradients in these graphics, blended into a photograph for a company that you're making up. It should be a fun project. Be creative. Good luck.